In this video, guys, I take a look at the 2015 animated Disney classic movie, Big Hero 6, in which is the 53rd movie in the Disney classic franchise. So without further ado, let's get into today's review. Let's get into it. So I thought then that this movie was one of the most underrated Disney movies out of the whole of the Disney classics, as this is very overlooked sometimes, and I think this is one of the most crucial Disney classic movies to watch if you're into your Disney movies, as this one covers over a small little topic called grief, and it shows how Hero, who loses his brother in this one, his close brother, is able to cope with that loss and use it to good use, even though at first he doesn't use it to good use as he tries to kill somebody. However, he realizes that that's not what Tadashi wanted after talking to friends and talking to relatives, and it shows how to cope with grief. And I think this is a great movie for that sort of thing. And I think this is a hard topic that you don't normally see Disney cover, and I thought it was great how they did, because a lot of people will be feeling these sorts of feelings in the world, and I think this sort of movie explains those feelings and is able to encapsulate how to deal with those feelings. And I think it is a great movie, just to sort of go, oh yes, obviously somebody has died, but you can use that to do something else, or to do something in the name of someone else. And that's what Hero does with Tadashi's death. And I think that he is able to use Baymax as use Baymax, which is built by his brother, to help people, and he uses that idea of helping people to then become superheroes, and he creates his own suit for himself, his own suit for Baymax, and for all of Tadashi's friends, in which are currently helping Hero out cope with his brother's death, and also does things that his brother would have wanted him to do, and which I think is the main thing to take away from this movie. However, through him feeling down at the beginning of the movie when his brother died, he then feels like the world is over for him until he finds out that somebody stole his microbots, and this sort of changes him, and this sort of helps him cope with the death, because he's got something to take his mind off it. And I think that was really good, and that whole element, it was sort of a mystery for like a good 20 minutes of the movie, where you're thinking, who is it, and maybe even more than 20 minutes, might have been half an hour of this movie just spent thinking, oh, who's behind the mask, sort of thing. But then when we find out that it's obviously Callahan, I think that was quite interesting, because you wouldn't have expected, because I thought it would have been the posh guy that really wanted to take his microbots and buy them off him. And I thought that was quite good how he managed to track down Callahan and find out who was behind the mask. And when he found out that there was Callahan, and that he was a cause of his brother's death because his brother went back in for him, he then gets angry and wants to kill him, but then realizes after talking to his friends that that's not what they came for. That they didn't want to kill him, they wanted to capture the person who stole the microbot and was going to create something that could destroy the world. And I think that's what this movie does. I also thought that it was cool how, for once, these nerds, these comic book geeks, are able to come together and use their scientific brains to become superheroes. As we normally see, the nerds are the ones that don't become superheroes. It's normally the person like a Peter Parker. I'm not saying he's the smartest person in the world, because he isn't, but he gets bit by a spider and he becomes a superhero, and he, necessarily speaking, wasn't the smartest person in the world, or any sort of smartest being, or didn't come up with anything extraordinary, but he just got bit by a spider and became a superhero. And that's what this movie shows, that anybody can be a superhero. And I think that these geeks that have probably grown up watching and reading all these different comic books and things, and it is different now, because in this particular movie it just showed that these geeks create their own outfits, create their own unique styles and things like that. So on the superhero theme, I thought it was good how the cameo of Stan Lee was introduced. As that is a little thing in hindsight, but I think that showed that the respect levels of having someone like a Stan Lee in this movie, which is a superhero god in a way, as he was the one that created Marvel. He created the characters like Spider-Man, Wolverine, Deadpool, those sorts of characters, Hulk, Iron Man, these big characters, he was a big part in that sort of stuff. And to have him cameo at the end of the movie as Fred's dad, I thought that was awesome. And I think that that little thing will be big in the long run. Moving on, I love the connection between Baymax and Hero, as they had phenomenal chemistry and worked really, really well together, and now quite iconic in the Disney world as a unique partnership of Hero and Baymax, the likes of Buzz and Woody. I think they are in that bracket as they are quite funny together. They have very good chemistry, they have good connection with each other, and are quite, like I said, iconic with Disney now. And even though this came out in 2015 and they're not that old of a partnership, they are up there in my opinion as a good connecting chemistry bundle that is just brilliant to see in Disney movies. And it is a real stapleton in many movies to have these sort of connections, and this is one of many that Disney have already done, in which I really enjoy. Moving on, I thought that this movie really needed this song, Fall Out Boy by Immortals. It just elevated this movie to a whole new level. It elevated the song, it elevated the movie. They were coming up in tandem, and it just reminds me a lot of Armageddon with I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, because every time you think of I Don't Want to Miss a Thing by Aerosmith and Armageddon, you think of Armageddon, and those are the sorts of things that you think about. And it's just that song sometimes can make you think of that movie, and that movie can sometimes make you think of that song. And that's what this did. And to me, you think of that with like say Brother Bear as well, that has been done previously with Phil Collins, On Our Way Now, or On My Way. And I think those are little things that Disney have done over the past few years, in Elton John being used in The Lion King to sing Circle of Life, and several other songs that have been used over the years have been sung by famous people. And I think this is a stapleton in Disney movies. It is a known thing now that they always try to pull out big songs for these movies, as we saw in Ralph Breaks the Internet, that we saw Zero by Imagine Dragons. And it seems that this is a common theme now in the Disney movies, that they're trying to use famous singers and songwriters to come up with some songs for these movies, and I like that. Finally then, I thought the actors and actresses were phenomenal in Big Hero 6, as we saw the likes of Ryan Potter, we saw the likes of Scott Adsit, we saw the likes of Jamie Chung, we saw the likes of TJ Miller, Daniel Henney, Damon Wayans Jr. We also saw the likes of Genesis Rodriguez, James Cromwell, Alan Tudyk, Maya Rudolph, and Stan Lee. And those are just to name a few. I don't think there's many big names in there apart from Stan Lee and probably Maya, but I think those characters, nobody could have played them any better. And although they were quite, I don't want to disrespect them at all, but nobody's, they did a good job at playing these characters. And if there was ever to be a Big Hero 6 2, which I hope there won't be, but if there ever were, I would want these characters to return and want these actors to come back and play them. To summarise Big Hero 6, and I think this movie was an absolute underrated classic of a Disney movie, hence why I've rated this movie an 8.6 out of 10 and an absolute classic of a film. So let me know down in the comments down below what your thoughts are on this particular movie. Also, if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to be alerted to all the new content that this channel creates, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Laters.